But that's the same with any app.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Isn't it?
What are you talking about?
So another app's coming out.
Oh,
Here
that's
we
what
go
we
again.
need is another app. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So,
Is this top secret news or you?
no, it's been launched.
Okay.
Taxi World, your card system that you've been using in my cab.
Yep.
They're putting an app on that system.
Oh.
So it's off your phone. It's not on your phone. You only be able to accept a job if you've not got a passenger in the cab. So it knows because it's linked to the meter. No fees.
No fees.
And it's got coverage. Because the problem with Taxi app was, although it was no fees and they thought they were the trade people and all that, they had no coverage.
Right.
Cab drivers weren't on it as such. So every time you flogged a download, that people would try it and not be able to get a cab. Well, this is different because it's on 7,000 systems already. They've got it whether they like it or not, the drivers. So it pings you a hail straight away.
Okay, where are they gonna earn their money from?
So they want to take app work onto their card system, because at the moment all they lose is mainly app work and cash. They're happy to lose. They're happy to forego the cash, but they're not happy to forego the app work because they're losing from getting.
So let me get
now.
it straight, because it seems like Tom's just said. Was you joking when you said you didn't like it, or you? Because I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I do, and I don't like it. I guess, yeah. I guess it's the
I
fact
think we're all bored of new apps, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're all bored of hearing about it.
But also, as well, obviously, you're then tied into that one credit card system. I guess you then got.
Yeah, absolutely. But you are anyway. That's what they want. They want you to be tied in.
Yeah.
But they're giving you something tangible to have you tied in, right?
I can't. So far, what you've told me so far seems like a really, really good idea. So, and I know that Tom's not an idiot.
But then I can't get behind the idea if then it's not available to every cabbie, because it's.
Of course it is.
For an app, yeah, it is. But then, everyone's got to go on that card machine, haven't they?
Yeah.
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 Why not make a system that every cabbie can get on it? We need one that. I think our biggest problem is that we don't have a app that every cab driver wants to use.
Yeah.
Like some countries they just have one, don't they? You can go on the government website and say, use this one, and that's
that idea, Tom, though, has been kind of my idea. Not that I invented it, but the idea is that if we are forced to use one app, that's the best idea, giving us a singular market.
Yeah.
You have control over that app in a sense that you'll have the power of the majority to make changes. And obviously we want the app that's going to have the least charges for us.
Yeah.
And if the app has got the market sewn up, they get the biggest profit. So in a sense, it's an instance where we need a monopoly control of something.
Yeah.
Which again,
I believe that's what it is.
Yeah.
If you don't want to go on it,
succeed. I mean, they've got to beat all the other apps first.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just a basic thing. It's just a hailing app. It actually hails a cab rather than, there's no surcharges and all that. Like you don't even have to put your credit card details in.
It does remove the friction. It was good for that. Yeah.
Say again?
It does remove the friction, which is good for that. Yeah, 'cause you don't have to have
so where's it throwing the job from?
What do you mean?
Well, it's an app. So who's giving? They've got to be able to advertise and say you need to use this app to get to work. How's it getting to work?
Well, we need the drivers to sell it. Same old story, really.
Okay, so they still need to sell the app to make other people go on it, and then so this is the problem you're going to have, is the fact that you've got to compete against established apps that have the marketing power to keep pushing.
For years, they've been in for years, so you've got to break the mold, haven't you? And you've got the drivers have got to believe in it. People like Tom have got to push it, otherwise it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't matter how much we push it. Generally, it's very, very hard work.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, it's not going to be easy. But look, they've invested.
There is one way to push it, which is that someone we had a trade organisation. Let's presume it's called anything RPG,
UCG,
rocket propelled grenade.
UCG?
Well, anything, but it does. If we were very monopolistic, and if we had control where we could say you are going to use this app, and all other apps are banned. Then that would be. It would take it. There'll be an influx and change.
That's never going to happen, is it?
No, it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen. Look, they've invested in it. They've done it. They've got it, and it like you say, it removes all the friction. Just stick with what you got then. Keep paying free now. Get putting their prices up to 25%. Stick with them.
Yeah, but there is also my argument with all the apps currently is that you don't have to use them. So when you can charge me 100%. I mean, it doesn't matter. Your fees are only relevant if I'm just choosing to use your platform. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not going to use it if they charge me 100%. But
You've got to buy into it. You've got to like it. You've got to like the idea. You've got to think it's right. If you don't think, like you say, if you think it's shit, it ain't going to work, then there's no point.
Thank you for supporting our channel. Thank you for supporting Wizan. Please like, subscribe, comment, and hit the notification bell for any future videos.
Welcome, Tom. Welcome, Paul. It's basically, there was a meeting recently, which is the knowledge school meetings that we have regularly. They're a little bit less regular than usual because they were seriously hacked. I don't know how much you know about the hacking, but I've told them that I won't hack them anymore, and I'm going to let them do what they want to do. So, a few of the things discussed were the system is changing. The system is changing again, and there are some nice things in place. But the biggest, let's start with the biggest thing about it is this list of points that they're going to release, which everybody knows about, don't they? It's public knowledge.
Does everyone know about it? Does every cab driver know about it?
I don't think so. I think this is going to be pretty controversial.
So the list is about 6,000 points long. It will be added to, but they can't add to it mid-flow. So if you're learning that 6,000 points, they can't then hit you with any new stuff that's not in that 6,000 points until the new list is released with the new points added. And the same thing with removals. So they're going to add and remove. The removals and the adding is going to rely on us to say this particular point's definitely gone. This is a brand new point that seems interesting and of relevance to us. So that's how the list is going to come and go.
But it would always stay around 6,000.
Looking at the 6,000.
So it was just like it's like a stock, I guess. It's just,
I imagine it'll grow more than it will shrink.
Who when they say relying on us, they mean the schools to supply new points?
Kind of the schools, yeah.
Right.
Not to supply the points so much, but to notify them, certainly for things that are gone, because we'll be one of the first to sort of get that information passed up to us. One of the queries you always get is, why are they asking something that's gone on the knowledge? And they don't seem to understand that the examiner does not know it's gone. He's not there. He pointed it last week even, and it might be gone this week. You've pointed it this week because you're well current. So that's fair enough. But if you can point out that it's gone, then the point won't count. But in general, you had to have been there to know it's gone as well, and you probably don't even know it's gone until after. So that's how they ask gone points. The list does give people the opportunity now to have a definitive thing to study rather than an open-ended thing to study, but I am not entirely a fan of that. And I will say that every single change I've seen them make over the years to the knowledge, none of them have actually made the knowledge easier. And the examiners themselves take an interpretation that kind of deliberately makes it harder in their sense. So looking at a list, if you've got a list of 6,000 points and you know you can ask anything from it, generally as an examiner, you'd fall into your own colour of questions and points. So let's take Mr. Thomas as a really good example. There's a line for Mr. Thomas that will come from southeast London to over in Barnes and going up to Shepherd's Bush Green, this angle of line. And he can pick any points he likes, but he only ends up with a certain repertoire of points that you basically know anyway, and this line you basically know anyway. So there's a colour to that kind of
He was never
question.
about points.
No, but you could learn him. Now, what he could then do is just ignore his own system, open up the book, pick from random, looking at the name of a point that he either doesn't know or knows remotely, and then ask that. So you've now got a list of points that are valid to ask, that you could ask from really obscurity. And you could keep asking from obscurity and probably never repeat yourself for a long, long time. So you could probably go through 1,000 points of stuff that's really no one knows, that people are pulling 1 in 100 rather than the other way around.
I wonder if in some ways it's going to make lines more difficult. Rather than the variability of like points could be anything, and that was one of the big scary things in the knowledge, like what on earth they're going to ask me? They can ask me anything. If they're going to go through this points list and they're going to just come up with some really crazy ass lines, it's like, oh, I'm going to go from there to there, and it might only be like down south somewhere, little ones across,
absolutely,
whatever.
Tom, I don't know if you've ever played this game where you take random points. We used to screw them up and throw them in a hat. Yeah. And the thing about random points is it throws up random lines. Yeah. And then from that, you learn one thing. You learn that no matter what an examiner does, there is a colour to their, I'm saying colour being like an identity to their thoughts. And they can't break free of the fact that this is how we work. So we would be in some way relating to the fact that loads of journeys go up Belsize Park, go up Haverstock Hill and Roslyn Hill and that area, and they come down, and you maybe pick someone up who wants to go slightly sideways. Loads of journeys that are realistic, that are in our head as cab drivers. But when you randomise it, you end up with an anomaly that is a route that we've never seen before or never thought about before. And it does suddenly, we used to play it and it would be like, wow, that's a really tough line.
But when I got onto 21 days, me and my call-over partner, we binned the point sheets. We just did that. We absolutely did that because we wanted to be the best we could be at that stage. And that stage, you should be able to be given random points.
Oh, you really didn't do the point sheets? I mean, at that stage?
Late stages of 21s, we didn't bother with the point sheets. We made our own points.
This game that I'm talking about is obviously stemming from the fact that you're looking for some stimulus. So you are getting better at it, but I would never advise people to stop doing the point sheets because your number one objective is to become a taxi driver.
No,
it isn't to be the best at it.
Not at certain stages, like with 56, 28s, you definitely want to be doing the point sheets. And just before you go in the room, you want to look at the point sheets because you want to see what you might be getting. But while I was training, I would go, ask me anything because I wanted to be the best. And then that's what happens in your cab, right?
Yeah.
You just never know. Some of the random journeys I've done in the cab is, I couldn't even remember some of them. They're so random.
A lot of it's how quick it comes up as well. Once
they
get in, and then you got to think on a
I'd have to put the phone down if I was on the phone to someone. I've got to think where I've got to go here. Like, I can't
turn the radio down.
I can't believe people talk on the phone at the same time as trying to go where they want to go.
Yeah, you're right if you go on across town because you're like, I've got a lot of time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but if it's a little one, like I don't know,
take me to the pharmacy just round the corner.
Yeah, and they give you the address, and you're like, but this, I think it's a role play, isn't it?
But I think the way that they then pick their questions is going to be different because I think even when I don't know how they pick their questions. Obviously, every examiner's different. But when I used to do like the mock appearances here, I think like I want a line kind of roughly like this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to start here. I'm going to pick a point there. I'm going to pick a point there. Well, if they've got this point sheet to work from, that's going to change.
Well, it changes even bigger than that, Tom.
Right. Okay.
So there's even more news on that front, which is actually quite interesting in the sense that they really are coming up to the level of technology that they could be coming up to. But at the same time, I'm kind of going to digress a little bit. I was thinking that the number one thing that makes the knowledge harder, the absolute crux of the knowledge being harder or easier, is the competition between students. As students compete against each other, the higher their level becomes, that's it. It's relative to that. So at the moment, the competition between students is low, the level comes down. So the level in itself, or the difficulty of the knowledge, isn't really gauged by the examiners. It's gauged by the students competing against each other. When you say like
competition of students, you just mean that because of like more numbers on the knowledge, if there's
the better you are at it, the better I need to be at it to be in second place to you, to be the second driver coming through.
And then just so for the audience, why does that affect the level of the knowledge? It's like more people are passing, and then
if we're all if you're going to reach a certain level and you get passed out, if everybody reaches a certain level, you get passed out, there's no one on the knowledge because you've all reached that level.
Okay.
So because there's a kind of a percentage factor of who's going to pass out, it's going to be the top percentage of standard that passes out. And as each person is competing to be in that top percentage, you're continuously on a roll of increasing the level and the height of what the skill level is for that percentage. And then if no one's passing out, then that level starts to fold downwards. And I think that is, over the years, what I've noticed in terms of the knowledge being difficult or easy is literally based on the competitiveness and the standard of knowledge boys. Now, if you do, numbers does make a difference. If there are 6,000 people competing, which there were in the 90s, then the level is horrendously high. You've got to be good to be getting in that. You want to be one of the 1,000 badges that pass out that year. You've got to be in the top 10% or so to get through.
But can that, how do you get that higher standard if you've got a finite list of points? What can they do to make it more harder?
Well, you're still competing.
Yeah.
So this would be, I think, mine and your attitude. There's a finite list of points. I'll learn them all.
Yeah.
I'll have them off pat. There won't be able to catch me out.
What happens then? Yeah, like if you know them all, then surely you're fine. Or in theory, you're fine.
You are
learning them all. Everyone can know where they are.
Yeah.
It's about how you exit and enter them. That's the bit that people find difficult to remember. Setting it on the right, setting it on the left. Have I left it in the right direction? All that kind of stuff. That's the bit that you've got to really learn, right?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like, I feel like that's something you should sort of do as you go throughout the knowledge anyway. So I feel like you could get to 6,000 points or whatever the number is.
Task done.
Yeah, but
That's
wouldn't you
done.
drop a point even if you knew where it was sometimes? Because you think, I'm just not
100%.
100%. Like, I'm not confident with starting there.
Yeah.
Ask me another one in that area. That's what I would.
Yeah, definitely.
You've got to play that game, haven't you?
Yeah.
I've heard that idea many times for
Yeah.
30 years. I have never played it.
What you personally, when you
I
was on
take every
knowledge?
point you give me and I'll have a go at it, even in appearances. So
Yeah.
I just thought to myself that this idea that you've just put forward, which a lot of people say,
Yeah.
is actually quite difficult to think of when you're on the fly in an appearance. So you're now saying to yourself, I know that point, but I don't know.
Yeah, but
how
you know
to
it's a
leave it in there."
sticky point because you've been through your sticky list. What you know, you're on your.
But if I know there's a chance of it being illegal, it's the same as like calling a line that I don't know if that line's going to work. I will call wide to know it's definitely legal,
Yeah.
than calling a straight line that's.
But the
could be
way the
illegal.
knowledge is now, you can be hit with 10 points when you're sitting down that you don't even know where they are. Whereas now they've got a set list, at least you're going to know them.
Well, the other point about the set list is it's about 6,000 points, which is
Yeah.
about the average person's repertoire of points on the knowledge anyway.
Yes, I was going to say I think I finished on about 7,
Yeah.
8 maybe, which.
Yeah, I was about 7,000 or 8,000.
So I think it's one of those things that it's the mystique and the PR of the knowledge that kind of hurts us in this way. It's the same, like you said, about the fact of 25,000 streets. So we
Yes.
could never learn, but somehow it's just been out there long enough that it's in public perception. That's what we do.
Yes.
So public perception is taxi drivers could know anywhere, but it's not too far off of the number we have to learn anyway.
Anyway, yeah. So in that sense,
But there still is a little bit of like they could ask me anywhere, and they
There's
do
a plan
ask,
though. There's a plan. That it's not like we don't know how much we've got to learn because we're going into an appearance with an examiner that could just ask us anything, and there was no set boundaries. At least they've set a line in the sand.
No.
You can learn it, and anyone can do it. People don't think they can do it because of what you just said, the PR of it all.
So now what it does do, when we say to people 6,000 points, we do take away some of the mystique and give them an objective that they can do. And we can now say, look, when you're starting the knowledge, I've got to learn 25,000 streets. No, you haven't. You've actually, that's another thing about this list. It's 4,000 points and 2,000 roads. And
So 2,000 of them is just roads.
yes, and this is the interesting part. They cannot ask you anything that is not on that list. So the only roads they can actually ask you are those 2,000. There are 3,500 roads in the Blue Book runs. They cannot ask 1,500 of those roads that are in the Blue Book runs
Oh wow!
as a point.
What made them do this? Did you ask that question? Why did they come up with this idea that it's got to be 6,000?
I think this is to do with the little study that they paid for, where someone came and reviewed the knowledge and how it worked.
Yeah,
And
I remember that.
all modern study ideas are looking to give a fixed curriculum type thing to study.
Yeah.
And I am aware of all the things that we've done over all the years. And if we could go back in time, the system that was best was the very first system of 30 years ago. And people didn't like it because they felt they didn't know how they was getting on. But they weren't really good enough. And all we've done is we've pandered to the people that weren't good enough on the knowledge all the time. We're pandering to them, and you're giving them more insight. But everybody who passed the knowledge back then felt, yeah, that was right. The people coming through that were getting trouble weren't doing the study, but were expecting the results. We're expecting to be able to drive a cab. And again, it goes into the competition idea. You've got a guy that can run anything in 5 different languages, and you can't even do Manor Station at Gibson Square, but you're complaining that they've asked you an obscure point. So, and getting onto obscure points, they can now ask a list of what is considered to be interesting points again. So one of the ones that's spotted straight away is Nelson's Fleet. Nelson's Fleet can be asked again, which for me, all those points are lovely.
Yeah.
They're not relevant, really, although you're not going to get a passenger say, take me to Nelson's Fleet, but you could certainly show them it as you're driving along the mall and say, this is what it is. You could have some interesting thing. To learn those points was ridiculously easy in a sense. Anything that had a remote ounce of interest to it.
Iconic and visual.
Yeah.
I think it's also understanding what is actually the knowledge. Like, what are we learning? Are we learning points or are we learning routes? Because obviously every examiner was different there. I think sometimes the obscure points were quite good and still are quite good as a cab driver because someone gets in and maybe like learning pubs, right? I'm sure there's going to be loads of pubs that are going to be admitted from that, but they're quite... amount of times you get a punter in, someone who goes, it's just after this pub or whatever, and you're like, pubs or whatever.
Yeah.
But they break up streets and give you kind of landmarks.
Yeah, you always remember certain pubs that you've been to yourself, or you like the look of that building.
Well,
It's the same with
pubs were much more relevant points of interest
Yeah.
for us as cab drivers many years ago.
Yeah, of course.
They have become extremely less so, and
Yes.
more pubs that are now that were relevant are chained, so we're less aware of them. The pubs were very specific.
Yeah.
Going back years, I don't know if you know, there's the Aberdeen and there's the Eastern, and junctions are named after the pubs that were
Yeah.
built on them that have all gone. There's no pubs there anymore. And you're right, Tom. For me, the major element to driving a cab is nothing to do with points. It's all about routes. It's all about how we get from A to B. Are we good at getting from A to B and creating cheaper fares and quicker routes and journeys that a passenger's happy with? The point itself is completely irrelevant. But for the testing, it's perfect. It's fine. Let's do our testing, and coincidentally, we learn lots of points and lots of roads. I would have thought for our job, roads kind of outweigh points. The amount of roads that you learn in Clapham once you start driving a cab, the amount of people that go to all them streets, all between Nightingale Lane and going downwards into Balham, streets that we didn't pick up on the knowledge, but you end up doing 5 or 6 fares there all of a sudden. You do a road very often you've never done in your life, and then you go back to Liverpool Street and the second person wants to go exactly to the same place you've been to.
Yeah.
You think, well, I now know that road. So roads are much more relevant to me. 6,000 points, it's manageable. You can do generally, if you're working hard on the knowledge full time, 250 a week.
Is this going to be, though, the start of like them maybe making the radius smaller? Because I'd be very interested to know, if you put all those 4,000 points on the map, how many of them are kind of heat mapped to kind of the more centralish areas, and then there's going to be a few little ones out there, and they'll, in a few years' time, they'll go, oh, well, we're asking these little obscure points out here. Why don't we just shrink this radius a little bit?
Where's the list? Have you got the list?
I do. I'm not allowed to show you. I have to kill you both, and I could kill you, Paul, easily. But Tommy's got some martial arts.
Yeah. He'd get away on a bike.
No, there's more to this, which is the fact of how they're going to test, which is what you're touching upon there. They had a prototype. It was working fairly well. It was about the width of this desk, which is an electronic screen map of the A to Z. Every point that's on the 6,000 list will be pinned onto that map as a little circle. So you don't actually see what it is, but you know that's a point that's represented that you can ask, and you can tap it and it comes up with what it is. Now, the deal is quite interesting, is that it's your first appearance. Mm-hmm. There are marks on the map that I can ask on the first appearance.
Right.
And I can tap that to that and then ask you that question. As
Like
I'm asking,
Cabby's mate.
kind of, yes.
Yeah.
So as I'm asking you that question, I can pen the route with my finger of what I want you to do, and I can pen the route with what you called. That stays on that map and is a record on that map, so that, let's go 5 or 6 appearances in now. I open up the map that is relevant to you. I see every question in a visual image of what you've been asked previously.
Yeah.
And I can see that you have never been asked anything from Greenwich to Catford. Nothing from Greenwich to over to Streatham. So I can ping those kind of things at you and then fill those gaps. So in a sense, it takes away that luck that we sometimes had where we even get the same question twice, or we get a very similar question twice, or we've been predominantly asked in the same area over a few appearances, which was lucky.
This is something I always assumed on the knowledge.
I like
I was like, well, I've been asked these sort of questions. Maybe I'll get this area or something, or how much of my file are they actually using? But this sounds like it's actually going to produce real data.
Real data. And listen,
Sorry, I'll come back to that.
No.
But like, if there's repetition of like all the examiners are asking this kind of area here, and then let's ask here. So it seems like there's going to be a lot more. Well, because you don't really realise your own patterns and routines that you're doing over and over and over again, and you feel like, well, I've only asked that question 5 times, but the data might say it's been 20 times. Sorry, Paul.
And here's the thing. So I get accused a lot of wanting to water down the knowledge, supporting watered down the knowledge because you want to get more drivers out, etc., etc. But I actually think this is brilliant because what it does, it improves the knowledge. It makes more quality because you're getting to learn every part of the map, and you have to study every part of the map to know you're going to get through.
Well, it does make that comment.
It gives you quality.
The comment we used to say, they've never asked me this, that actually isn't relevant at the moment, or wasn't relevant. They haven't asked you that, and they may never ask you that. But that now becomes relevant.
Yeah.
That now becomes, you must, if I've got a visual image of what you've been asked, then you better be aware of what you haven't been asked and start covering it, because I guarantee that the next examiner looks at the map is going to see where you've been asked and go for these particular areas.
That gives you structure as well, right? That gives you, right, so I've been asked that, so I better get on that like you just said. So I'm going to more concentrate on that because I've already been tested on the top end of
What do you
Regent's
think?
Park.
Would you think it's made the knowledge easier or harder?
I think it makes it better quality. I don't know whether it makes it easier or harder, but I think, no, actually a little bit easier because you know where you're heading. It's not so randomised, yeah? Because at the moment it's just totally random.
It is interesting. I like the idea of the thing, but I don't think any of these things are actually making it easier immediately. In actual fact, they might be making it harder. It's not bad having a set curriculum. One of the things that has always been my pet hates is that people have been teaching people the knowledge outside of the curriculum that was already in place. You're telling people to learn stuff that they actually don't need to learn. And the trick with any subject that you're trying to learn and pass exams on, unless you're trying to be the absolute world's expert at something when you want all information, if you're actually just trying to pass an exam, then you learn the curriculum that is for that exam. So you pass, get your qualification and move on. And I do think some of us lose sight. Like you said, you wanted to be better at the knowledge. I do think so many people lose sight of their simple goal. This isn't about being the best at the knowledge. It's how quick will you give me my badge so I can go to work? So there has to be certain things you do, and people make the thing long-winded because becoming an expert at something is very, very different. Being an expert at it is way beyond the scope of needed to be at the job. You're just driving a cab.
I agree with that completely. But I just, at the time, when I got to a certain level, I wanted to be as good as I could be. And there's plenty of people who would agree with that, I think.
No, true. If you're in that certain band, and the thing is going again back to the competition stage, when we are competing, and we all like to think we was good at the knowledge. Some of us like to think we're the best at the knowledge when we was there or whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact is that 90% of the people below you are not that great. And they shouldn't even be thinking about any of this stuff. They need routine, structure, repetition, staying there, because most people are not going to be experts. They're going to survive and get through this by the skin of their teeth.
So don't you think this is a good thing then? Because you're giving them structure, you're giving them a set list of points. They haven't got to go, because I'm a great defender of everyone doing the knowledge, right? So what you're saying, I completely agree with, that there's so many people that have been on the knowledge or were on the knowledge between 4 and 8 years who could have been out quicker had they had a bit more structure, had they knew where they were going, knew what points they were going to be asked, not asked random stuff with turnarounds and 10 points in one little area that they might not know, which ruins their confidence.
Well, there is massive amounts of structure now, isn't it?
Yeah,
in terms of appearances.
Yeah.
First appearance needs to be based around blue book kind of things. It needs to be within a range of certain points. You can't be asked a fake turnaround. A fake turnaround is a point that doesn't actually need one, and be asked to turn it around. You can't be asked that until 21s, and you can only be asked one of them per appearance. So there is some structure to that.
Is that new stuff as well?
No, that's old stuff.
Yeah. Well, the theatres, and they still ask theatre shows, or can they do that because of this new point system? Will they be able to ask theatre shows?
I knew you was going to come up with something good, Thomas.
I've got a couple more. If they could, anyway. Yeah.
That can't be in the list because it's too changeable.
Yeah.
Unless it's like an absolute.
Some of them.
What's the longest run? Mousetrap. Is it still running?
Yeah, Mousetrap.
So unless we're talking
Mousetrap's
about,
got to be in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be something that they may have and may not have thought of. I've just checked, and it does look like the Mousetrap isn't in because it's in WC2 and it hasn't listed in the WC2 points. So that would be interesting to point out to them that maybe we need shows or we don't need shows. Do you think they should ask shows? They're very relevant to our knowledge, but they change as we go through.
They're very relevant.
People come in and say, "I want to see the Lion King."
Yeah,
and you have to know which one is in.
Yeah, Matilda. I mean, all these ones that have been around for a long, long time. You would.
Well, I think Matilda will go, wouldn't it?
I mean, it's
Lion King won't go. It's still full up.
Mamma Mia.
How long's that been going now?
As long as I've been out.
Matilda's been as long as I've been out as well.
They all go in. Yeah, Cats has gone, isn't it?
Cats gone. Yeah.
So, Les Miserables still going?
It makes sense what you're saying, though, that they would go at some point, so not learn them. But but surely you can change that. That's the whole point of changing the points, is it not?
I would say that shows and what show is on at a particular theatre is actually a very true, realistic job for us. Thanks. As a cab driver, you get people get in and they say they're going to Les Mis. You want to know which theatre is showing it.
I like the curiosity points. They're good. Because some of those only learnt after the knowledge, which, again, it's like, is it relevant and that? But there's just like the odd conversation of a passenger or go, oh, it's near this or whatever.
Why are they asking points outside the knowledge?
Well, it's really interesting because when I actually did the knowledge, we weren't asked Wimbledon tennis. And then at some stage, people realised that I think the LTDA even argued about it. We should be asked Wimbledon tennis. We should have to go to Wimbledon tennis because it's majorly relevant to our job again. But it's outside the 6 mile radius.
I see now.
So they did start asking it in the general scheme of things. Then they got very strict with the changes and started to make a curriculum-based thing again. And they drew the 6 mile radius. And then they actually realised that some of the even start and finish blue book points were outside the 6 mile radius. And they had to bring those in slightly, so they came within the boundary. And everything that was outside the 6 mile radius was decided that you couldn't ask again. But there are a couple of major ones. So Wilkin, at the time, started throwing in City Airport, which is not just a little bit out the 6 mile radius. It's a trek, and there's some roads involved to learn that you never would have known. So
You still haven't really answered it.
because they're considered to be of importance to the job that we do. Excel, definitely. Wimbledon tennis, definitely. Alexander Palace, when there's something on, definitely. Crystal Palace, maybe not so much, but it doesn't hurt to know Crystal Palace. But they're relevant to the job that we do, and they've been inserted into it.
Yeah.
But it's knowing, this is the thing though. So if the rule can't be bent, that's good. When they used to ask Wimbledon tennis, when they started asking Wimbledon tennis, they started asking something next to it. I can't remember what it was. Oh, St Mary's Gardens, I think. When you follow the road down past Wimbledon Tennis, Church Road, you end up at the bottom, and I think you end up with St Mary's Gardens and a route in. And so they started to go push the boundary. And that was, again, where the level came into it. Because the students at the highest level were hitting all of this stuff, then the level was pushed again. The boundary was pushed again. And we kept on extending what you needed to know. And being the points list was always open-ended. There wasn't a major advantage to not having a complete list, which is the examiners back then used to have what we called bike points, which was to make those that are at the periphery of knowing almost everything go out again. Right. So I will ask something that I've been out in my cabin seeing that week that I've never seen asked before, or known has not been asked before, and I'll ask it to you, Tom, but I know that you're not going to get it, and I'm not going to penalise you too drastically for it, but what I expect you to do is tell people that it is asked. Yeah. And then by the following week, I'd expect the people on a similar level to start coming in and tell me they know it, because they would have flown out and got them. Yep. And that kind of thing will disappear, because if you can learn the definitive list, you're done, which means you'll do more point-to-point work, which is nothing wrong with that, doing table work. But there's no excuse to go out if you've done all your points.
Yeah, that's the point I didn't really think of, is that, you're not going to go out on the bike as much, because if you've got your list of points, what do you need to go and explore, other than just the odd road and stuff? Oh, I learned something from your map test, by the way. I did that video.
Yep.
Yeah.
What did you learn?
The October Gallery.
Oh, Gloucester Street.
Yeah, I had no idea. In the video, like a right wally, I'm like, what? Never heard of that, yeah.
Is it still there, though, Tom?
Well, Street View says it.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah. You checked it. I'm glad you double-checked it. But this is a funny thing, again, with eras on the knowledge. Yeah. I'm sure there's points that you will think are easy that you could name, and I think I'll never do that.
Definitely, yeah.
And then from my era, there's loads of stuff that I'm seeing regurgitate 30 years later that come out, and the students don't know where they are, and I think, well, they're easy. So, Mr. Byron, I would like you to take me from Albany Road to Calais Street.
Sorry, sir, don't know either of them points.
All right, see? Now,
I've gone already.
I know he's looking for one page, so it's got to be the same postcode.
Same
Calais
postcode.
Street's not too far, yeah.
Same postcode. But so Calais Street's around Natchbull Circus.
Oh, is it?
Yep. Albany Road.
I can actually see Albany Road, but I can't give you the two roads off.
Can you see the big top at Natchbull Circus?
No. I can't even see South London. Anything south,
Circus.
I can't see. So you would have had me straight away, because I'm from North London. South is a real struggle.
You need that sort of 20 minutes or so on the north of the river to kind of think about it. And once you're on the bridge, you're like, I know now.
But on the knowledge, you can't say, please don't ask me anything south. You can't really do that. When we get to that stage, that is watering it down.
Right, now,
you know what I mean?
Tom, I'm really sorry.
Okay.
Right, but I'm going to kill you on this too. Mr. Hutley, please, could you take me from the BP petrol station in SE22 to the Sainsbury's in SE22?
BP petrol station, SE22.
What, their points in that list. Interesting.
Where's SE22? I'm looking really hard at that map behind
It's Dally's Peckham Rye.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to where?
We're going for the BP petrol station. Yeah, I don't want Shell or anything. I need BP. And we need the Sainsbury's. I don't want Asda or Waitrose.
I know where the Sainsbury's is.
Go on, where?
In Dulwich.
You said you knew where it is, and now you're asking me where.
No, it's on Dog Kennel Hill.
Yeah, Etiquette Way.
Oh, you might be right, but it says
right.
SC22. We just have to double check the postcode for that particular point.
Dog Kennel Hill.
Is SC22 Dulwich or is that?
Etiquette Way, though, isn't it?
Because
Paul?
these are
I'm brilliant at South London.
It's Etiquette Way.
Yeah, Etiquette Way with the football.
So
club,
close.
yeah.
So you dropped that one as well.
But is that the point, though? That's where the Sainsbury's is.
I think that's going to be the correct Sainsbury's. I'll give him that.
And is the BP down at the bottom by the roundabout?
Yeah, it's just along from it on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a BP or is it a Shell? No, it's not a
they're-
Shell, or is it a Jet? I've got to look now.
I know.
Where's Cheap View? The only thing I see about this whole 4,000 points, because we've just demonstrated it can be quite difficult for us as working cab drivers.
Yeah.
But it's the public perception of it. It's like when rail fares go up. They don't go up by much, but the public perception and what they put in the newspaper is like, rail fares have been hiked. If the media catch wind of this, it's going to be like, the knowledge is dumbing down, and every punter is going to get in and go,
right.
I've heard the knowledge has got easier. And it's like,
No.
it hasn't really. We've kind of just demonstrated it's...
No, it's a set. So for me, if I was going to market this, right, I would say I've said it in the car wash to Addison Lee driver who's asked me how things are. I've said, the knowledge is going to change.
That was
it's not
the
going to
BP.
be
Grove Vale, yeah.
right. The knowledge it's not going to be easier, but you're going to know where you're heading. So it gives you some structure. You're not going to be torn apart on appearances.
I don't know. Tom's point is absolutely bang on. I mean, this is going to be spun by anybody who's in the media that it hasn't got any easier because we're not particularly learning any less points. We've got the exaggeration of what our points were. I do know of people that went to about a list of 15,000. I'd imagine there's someone in history who went to about 17,000 points. But the idea of anyone who learns that amount of points is they wasn't good at the knowledge. They took so long to do it that they had to learn a larger list.
Yeah.
So the faster you did the knowledge, the less points you had to learn. But now we're all going to be learning 6,000, which is about an average.
I like the idea when I first heard of you saying you're not going to go out on your bikes as much. I actually think that's a good thing because you'll have your repertoire and you'll get better and better at the lines. You'll be studying it more and more and more.
I don't know.
And you'll improve. Mm-hmm. And when you're sitting in the chair, you'll have that, knowledge inside your head. You'll be more confident. Whereas if you're going out all the time, you haven't got as much time to do your point to point with your partner. You'll get more study time in. That's what I think because you'll have all your points and you'll be able to practice different lines with them.
I think you'll get through the knowledge better, but I think it's going to make a lesser quality cab driver because we're not doing as much bike work. I think that's when you sort of pick up observations that really help you as a cab driver. I know that my turn in here is after the Tesco's, or I know it's
recognition
here.
of it.
And also when you get out afterwards, it's like you said, the people who get through the knowledge quicker will have less points. But I think it's the people that then become like a working cab driver and they're out all the time where their knowledge kind of just gets better. And between...
No, I don't agree with that.
Well, not necessarily not knowledge gets better, but like if a punter got in a cab, right? I've got mates who've got their badge and they've not driven, and we all have, right? They've not driven since having a badge, or they've only been out a few times. But they might have got through the knowledge really quick, right? Or whatever. So it doesn't matter how well they did the knowledge. If they went out and drove as a cab driver tomorrow, public perception is that they're not a good cab driver because they don't know, like, they're not up to date or as fresh on the central London stuff. See what I mean?
I think what I really think here is that your bike work will be more quality because you'll be doing a lot more point to point because you'll have your points in the bag early. You'll be doing a lot more point to point, and then you'll think, do you know what? I can't nail that run. I'm going to go out and run it. That's how I used to do it. I used to think I'm going to go out and run a long run on my way into the score, or whatever, so I can nail it. Or I can't see that point as good as I thought I could on the first time. I'm going to go and look at that one point. Rather than just going around in circles, picking up random points, I might need them 5 points. I'm going to go and get them. This gives you some kind of... I would actually be interested in the knowledge now if I was, thinking about it. Because I know I've got to learn this, and this. I haven't been random. I ain't being randomised. I think what they've done here is really positive.
There'll probably be less dropout as a result.
That's the main thing. That's the
combined
dropout.
with obviously less red lines. So it's probably more. They can probably look at the data of people who've applied and they know they're more likely to stick the course. So it's more reliable for them to know this many people are going to become cab drivers.
Exactly that. That is how they need to sell it. They need to sell it by saying to people, come and do the knowledge now. We've improved all this stuff. You don't have to be scared anymore that you're going to be hit with random stuff. It's been set up so that it's subjects in a line.
Curriculum based.
It's curriculum based now. It's a lot more credible.
You both hit a really good point. That there's no argument for either, which is that your objective is to finish the knowledge. Now, if finishing the knowledge quicker means that you don't go out as much because you want to stay on focus, that's perfect. You finish the knowledge quicker. And then your point is that if you did that, when you pass out, you're not going to be as good a cab driver as you would have been if you'd have been out on the roads with recognition as well. So there's a downside to that. But your main objective is, first of all, getting into the cab. And the old classic, about the knowledge is that you're actually never training to be a taxi driver by doing the knowledge. You're training to be a student that sits in front of a person and answers questions. That's your skill. And to learn to be a cab driver, you have to get in the cab and take the skill of what you learned from previously to apply to being a cab driver and learn to be a cab driver now of
Dealing with the public.
Yeah, dealing with public. Well, doing the routes on the fly.
Yeah.
Well, I think I always say to people, so you know every single option. You know all the optionality there, and you're not going to risk it with a punter on board of like, oh, can I go that way? You know, you pre-doing it all.
For me, this is great, but it's not enough. There's other things they need to change as well. They have other things they have to deal with.
That's a big statement.
Ooh,
I mean, basically,
drum roll.
Yeah. What?
For me, I
Twitter mob, get your popcorn ready.
Well, we've talked about it before. At the end, getting out quick. All this knowledge is useless if you lose it all at the end. I mean, everyone's got a different story
Paul,
at the end of the knowledge.
I'll tell you what, we're getting back into the realms of the competition between students. You can get out fairly quickly if you wanted to. There are some things that hold you up, but you can apply and get your suburbs done quickly if you wanted to.
I did mine in 3 weeks.
It's out of your hands.
3 weeks from rec to...
Yeah, but that's just you.
But yeah, I see what you mean. Like
and
the,
still
the
in 3 weeks,
it,
in 3 weeks, you can lose a lot, but that's not... You wouldn't have had much of a problem. Your knowledge would have stayed in your mind. I waited 5 months, and there's other students that have waited longer.
What was the story between you waiting 5 months?
Well, I applied for it all. I done my drive 6 points 21s. Done my CRB on 9 points 21s. It was still sitting there. At the time, there was a backlog. Mm-hmm. Now, I believe is some similar things going on, but because it's less people getting out at the moment, there's less outcry, right? Mm-hmm. But it's still there. That problem still remains from 10 years ago. Okay. That problem still remains. That the disconnect between the knowledge team and the licensing team is real. That's a thing that is very important at the end of the knowledge. And if they don't sort that out, all this is a waste when it comes to quality. Yeah, the quality. Because for me, it wasn't a major problem because I knew I'd passed and I knew I was going to get my badge eventually.
Yeah, but 5 months is a long time to wait.
Yeah, but I didn't care at the time.
But you know why you wait 5 months?
The CRB backlog.
Oh, no, let's go into the details of some
DBS.
of this. The reason that people wait now is that you've been given the opportunity to kind of give your own date of when you want to do it. So we were given 6 weeks. My badge day will be 6 weeks from now. There's your date. As we walked out, my next appearance is 6 weeks from now. I have now got to complete 140, I think it was, suburban runs that were the Metropolitan Police area, which was bigger than the Greater London area, which meant that they went to, I keep mentioning Cobham, South Mims, places that you don't do on your current suburbs, which are very, very easy in comparison. I had to pass my driving test in the same 6 weeks and get the criminal record check done in the same 6 weeks. And we mostly did it. But people complained that it was too hard for them. So then the rules got weakened and bent to the fact, let's just let them choose their date. The choosing of your date seems to be like a bad idea. This is your date.
Sorry, who chooses the date now?
You can basically say, I'm ready to be tested on my suburbs.
Yeah.
I'm ready now.
You can't.
What'd you do then?
Yeah, what'd you do?
Well, you can't choose a date if your DBS ain't back.
No, let's just say, let's take care of that.
Or they haven't got a date.
You're going to tell them that I'm ready to be tested on my suburbs now.
You should be applying for your DBS at the start of 21s. You should be told you have to do that.
Which you do anyway, I think.
No, they don't tell them to do that. They leave it up to the individual to go when they
Maybe
want.
I just knowledge I had from other people in WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups
was
apply
early.
You just apply like this sort of time, like you get it ready.
So why is the DBS taking so long when it never took so long in the past?
Sorry, I've forgotten one thing which is really important. It's an update service now. So everyone should be given the update service on 21s. So you apply and it stays on there and it keeps updating itself.
You have to do update service now anyway.
You do.
Yes, it's
so
compulsory.
when you do renewal, you have to do update service. So when you get onto 21 days, the first time, as soon as you get your drop to 28s, they say, right, you have to do your update service. You have to fill it all in and complete it, or you don't get another appearance. That's an idea. That just on the fly.
So
that's just on the fly.
All right, your idea is that on 28s they should apply for that and get the update service done.
21s.
And 28s. Why not do it any earlier then? Because if you're on the update service, it's
28s.
going to carry on, and your CRB check's ready.
Well, hang on. You when you apply now for the knowledge, you can go on the.
Yeah, you have to do DBS to apply.
So at the end of the knowledge now, there's no reason at all for anyone to hold you up getting your badge. So you should be able to go back to that old.
But there is one
scenario.
thing, which is a medical, isn't it? You need a medical before you do
Only
it.
if you're at a certain age. You get a medical when you apply.
And you don't need another one when you finish.
So
If
now
you're not
there's
of
no
age.
reason.
Okay.
So someone from the knowledge team will hear this now and will probably say, right, yeah, you can't. There's no excuse now because your update service. So it's only licensing that's holding it up. So it's a disconnect between the knowledge team and the licensing team.
Are you still
this
see-
bit at the end is a big thing in my opinion.
Yeah,
It's a
no,
big thing.
obviously you're probably the person who's most in touch with this because obviously you're seeing people who are messaging you like from
For a
the end
cab.
of rec for a cab. or
Exactly.
whatever. So what kind of is the average time span, would you say, from rec to getting in your cab? Because presumably they
months.
want to do it as quick as possible.
2 months too long.
As quick as possible.
That's the average time that I'm feeling. It's
CRB
between
check.
everything from rec to badge. I'm seeing it to be
Okay.
between
But
2 and 4 months. I've got someone waiting at the moment. He's a bit complicated, but he's been waiting over 4 months. But he's got a bit of a complication. But that's not the point. He's known about that, and they've known about that since he's been on the knowledge. So why has it come to now when he's gone through the whole process?
What's his complication?
I think it's medical.
The point is now, though, that if you're doing the update service when you apply for the knowledge, it's done, isn't it? There is nothing
so there's
needed
no
to be
reason
done.
to stop.
So the
people.
CRB check will become not a time waster
That's
at
an
all.
anomaly now.
So then it will become, bearing in mind again, I said to you when I did it, we had 6 weeks, we had to take driving lessons
Yeah.
and driving test
Yeah.
and pass both of those, otherwise we wouldn't get our badge. So we was working on that, and we had to learn a far larger suburbs than you dream of right now. It's much, much more. And you're a fan for getting rid of the suburbs
I
completely.
am massive.
Then the next step needs to be, if you want this to be sped up, is that they need to not be able to give them the choice of the date within a week period. There's your slots for
like
the
a normal
suburbs.
appearance,
You
right?
can pick a day, one Monday to Friday within this week. Is a little bit of leeway.
I think it was about
No, you could be given.
eight weeks, and I think they said, right, phone us around. Well, I think I phoned about a week and a half after my rec, so I was about halfway through the suburbs. So I factored in another week and a half. I can get through them, and then 3 weeks done, and that was quite easy.
Why change the end bit? Why not keep it as an appearance, like you said? Like, so you've got your rec, right? Your next appearance for your suburbs is in 21 days.
Well, no, that's a
Then
bit
it's
quick.
another appearance.
Yeah,
You're done.
but whatever the time span might be.
6
But
weeks,
then,
nice
and
and
then you as a candidate might say, you know what, I'm going to, if you want to take a break from the knowledge and say it's too much, I'll come back to my suburbs. You can then say, great, you can either take that date or you say, no, I'll postpone to the future.
Or more radical.
Rather than the other way around of where it works at the moment. Yeah.
Or more radical, like you say, I'm a fan of no suburbs. Well done, you've completed the knowledge, just the rec. You're coming back for your badge on Friday.
Yeah.
No more suburbs.
You ain't getting that one.
Well, why not? See, this is the thing. Why we go backwards and forwards, That's what we learn. We're London cab drivers. Anything else, stick it in Google, off you go.
Well, which London are we? We are just the central London 6 mile radius.
Yeah, we're 6 mile radius. Yeah, we're not
Greater London. We're not Greater London. cab drivers.
No.
Well,
We
remove
can't-
the word all London from your badge then,
Yeah.
mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Byron, the non
we can't-
all London
We
driver.
can't access all of London anyway. We can't even go up Bishopsgate.
Yeah.
So why we got all London on our badge? There's no need to have all London. They keep moving the goalposts so much. Why can't we move the goalposts for our knowledge and say, right, we're London taxi drivers. All right, we go to the airport if you want us to.
Yeah.
But, it's
I give you the
whatever.
right
We know.
to say that. I mean, it's a little bit like the Monty Python sketch. We'll fight for your right to say that you should get rid of the suburbs. And but I don't see any purpose whatsoever to get rid of it. It's I don't actually know what the delay is. We're doing our suburbs to learn one extra thing, whilst they kind of take care of the admin of getting our badge ready to give us a ceremony. Back in the day, people used to moan that 6 weeks was too long and that they'd forgotten their knowledge at the 6 week mark. At 5 months...
Quality would be so much more if we got straight out. The quality of a cab driver would be so much higher.
Oh,
It's assuming though that every
So
cab
much
driver
higher.
does get straight out. Not every driver
Yeah.
does it. You know.
Get straight out?
Yeah, like some drivers don't want to just get straight out in a cab. Some just want it as like a backup, and they've got the knowledge and they can.
That's a small minority. I'd
Yeah,
say.
I guess so.
I mean, I would say one in hundreds. I would have thought that
If you
don't
took a
use their
vote,
badge.
if you took a vote and said getting rid of the suburbs, how many taxi drivers currently driving taxis would have say getting rid of the suburb part of the testing was good?
God knows.
I think it'd be low.
I'd probably vote for it, but I think it needs something else to kind of work out, like a rough kind of test where all these kind of suburb areas are. Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily need to go there. I did about 3,000 miles in those 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
So, I mean, I've
run them all. I've
had
done them
people
all.
say, I really enjoyed the suburbs, blah, blah. Fine, you know, you enjoy. I quite enjoyed it. I did it with a mate. We had some fun. But when I realised afterwards, when I finally got my badge and in a cab, how much I'd forgotten and lost, I was devastated.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and I never got a lot of it back. You know?
Well, so we can just. I'm going to flip onto a few other things, which is basically we've got the statistics.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, let's just talk about the basic thing that there's been an increase, which if we go from the COVID years, which obviously it was bad, we're going to be about 550 people this year, which is stability of some sort. So 550 is still 50% down on the average of years in the past. It was always about 1,000 badges a year.
We're losing about 1,000 at the moment, so 500 would then mean, we're still losing 500 net.
Which brings me to what the other thing is, which for the first time in history, we are now below 17,000 drivers. We're under 17,000 taxi drivers. So that's statistics-wise. But there is audio recordings, which are now the deal.
On every single appearance?
Well, it's pretty much in place. Yeah, they kind of went with a test phase, and it seems to be working fairly well. It allows you to contest an appearance if you think that there was something unjust about it. And from what I understand is there are people already that have contested appearances, none of them through me, but they've contested appearances and all of them have lost because the classic idea that we're not fully aware of what we say.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing because it must be difficult from an examiner's point of view. I mean, they just see people all day in, day out.
Yeah.
If they might have said something slightly wrong or whatever, like they're doubting their own knowledge. But again, like when you're in that situation as a student, your brain's not like normally functioning option
You're
anyway.
in fight mode.
Yeah, exactly.
But
And your memory gets, you know all things about memory and how memory's different. And
does the student get the recording, or is it just TFL that listen to it?
I don't think the student's going to get to listen to the recording unless it's necessary, unless you'd have to maybe take a court case or something.
But when I'm
data
contesting
protection would say you've got access to that in some way because it's you.
But when I'm contesting a PCN, I get to see the video of me parking on a red route or whatever.
If you're 100% sure that what they're telling you is not the truth, you could go further than that. But I doubt that they're going to do that. There's going to be a recording of what's said.
But wasn't that discussed in your knowledge meeting? Who gets to
No,
listen to this?
it wasn't. It wasn't discussed. I mean,
Okay.
I didn't think to ask that sort of thing. I'm not so conspiracy minded as you.
No, I'm
you and
not.
Aaron.
No, it's not conspiracy minded. I just wondered how they analyse it. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm far from a conspiracy.
Well, let me
theorist.
give
I
you
just
a little
wanna-
example. A guy complained to me that he wanted to complain, and he didn't. It wasn't one of the recorded things, but it was an exact issue of the recorded things. He was asked to run, and he says he did the run perfectly. And after a little bit of interrogation, he said, "But I did say Denmark Hill Road, and I was meant to say Herne Hill Road." I said, "Okay, well, it's a small thing." He said, "Yeah, but she should know that what I meant and what I'm
Gonna
said."
say one mark, right?
I know, yeah, but I said that's okay. But she actually said to him, "Are you sure? And do you want to say it again?" And he then repeated the
mistake,
same
yeah.
mistake again.
Yeah.
So the recording would show that he was given the opportunity. He didn't need to go to the recording because I said you haven't got a chance. But your recording would have shown that you was given the opportunity to correct yourself and you didn't. And then what I understand is all the cases that people have contested and said maybe there was something not so right about it, that they all would listen back and the examiners would listen back and it was absolutely correct. There was nowhere they were really misinterpreting what they think they said to what they really said.
it should be that way, really, because at the end of the day, taxi driving is a solo job, and if you want to learn and be the best, you can only learn lessons through yourself. I think if you're then trying to get someone else to step in for you, you're almost kind of passing the buck a little bit. Like, you've got.
But that's what mostly
you've got to take
happens.
this responsibility upon yourself.
You're right. I agree.
Yeah.
But what mostly happens is they'll go to Dean and say, "Look, Dean, this and this happened," and
Maybe because the system in the past has kind of felt like if you go up there personally, it feels like at least for me anyway. I never complained about anything. There might have been the odd appearance where I thought I could have done.
yeah.
But the whole idea of fear of my name coming up on their system saying, "Oh, I've complained" or whatever, and then it screws up all your future examinations.
That's what people think.
I know that's not
happen.
how it works. But that's what people think is going to happen.
That's exactly
But
right.
obviously, them implementing this is basically the knowledge team saying, "Look, it's not about that. We want it to be fair and as transparent as possible."
And 9 times out of 10, there's a psychological effect that you've contested it, and nothing will change. But your psychological approach has changed, and you think you're now a victim, and you're getting asked points that you suddenly think that they're asking me that because of that, and a paranoia sets in, and none of that's true. You need to just be fresh and go at it. But the audio recordings are a good idea. They're going to be great in the long run. It does make things better, but it does bring me on to probably the last thing that we'll discuss.
I knew that you were a supporter of that, though, Dean, because we had lots of discussions about this when we first wanted to talk about knowledge changing.
A lot.
I think it does. That's a really good step, and I didn't think that was going to come, because when I've ever been up and had the meetings, they said this was too expensive, never going to happen. You know.
Now, I mean, it turns out, in actual fact, I could have done this for them for about £1,000, and then have been up and running. It's so ridiculously cheap and easy to do with the technology we have.
Yes.
Even if you just had a dictaphone with a SIM card in it and you pressed record and your SIM card went into a little box with a date next to it, it would have been as easy as that back in the day.
I was confused when they said it would be expensive.
Well, there was data protection issues that they have to cover, obviously, and they have to follow procedure. But you do know there's a new testing coming.
Sorry?
There's a new test. So, and all of us have to take it. Oh,
Saru.
Yes,
Saru?
you know about Saru.
Yeah. But English test.
No.
Safeguarding.
So, no, not safeguarding. It's English. You've
no.
got to demonstrate English, right?
No.
I know about this.
Every
English
cab
testing.
driver and every knowledge student is going to need to pass a new test. So we are all going to have to take this test.
I've still got to take a driving test. So
right, that's another one. You'll fail both, Tom, and lose your license.
Yeah, exactly. 7 years,
Can't
nothing.
speak, can't drive.
It's not the language. You're going to be tested on the cab driver's handbook. So you are going to make, like you do your highway code test book, you got to read that and test it on it. You're going to be tested on the cab driver's handbook. And we did point out, and there is some of it in there, but we also felt that you should have etiquette questions to test the best idea for certain scenarios, so that we are actually putting some of that forward.
This is interesting.
But
We were
yes,
speaking about this, weren't we?
This is great.
Roger, this is it.
Well, that's what I sent to you.
It's in place. It's in place. That's going to be done.
On renewal.
And
But the thing is, though, the whole cab driver law, like even us, we didn't know what the correct, like the whole 6 mile radius thing.
Yeah.
Sorry,
We got
12 mile.
What's compellable?
What's
Yeah,
compellable?
yeah.
Crow flies, map route.
Charing Cross Station, is
You
it
know,
not?
Not many people know about the whole 1 hour thing. Like if it's a route takes longer than an hour.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not actually. It's from 12 miles from where you've been hailed, isn't it?
Yeah, but no, there's also an hour if it's believed to be. If it's
Or an
over
hour. Yeah. But 12 miles is an hour, isn't it?
Yeah, but
more
if
than an hour
you're in
sometimes.
if you're in rush hour,
6
in
miles is
town-
an hour.
Yeah,
6
6 miles is an hour. Yeah.
There are lots of things that are a little bit vague. What does the cab driver's handbook contain? I have a copy of it here. I've got to read it because I need the most up-to-date one, which would contain the 12-mile rule, the 1 hour
Lost
drive.
property.
Yes.
I guess all the conduct associated with like
It is that. So
performing your job. That makes sense because
How
you
many
get
hours,
you
Tom?
get given it at the end of like the knowledge, and then most people just go, "Oh, where's my badge?" Like, you know?
Yes.
true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a very
I read
good
it because
idea.
I'm a anorak, but
Yeah, I think it's
I
a
read
very...
it as well.
I still
Tom.
read it every now and again. Yeah. Like,
Do you have it in your cab and look it up when people ask you stuff?
excuse me, sir.
Yeah, I've got it in the handbook. I know that there was something about lost property which you have. Is it 24 hours? You need to hand it in within 24 hours. Pretty much, we've covered a lot. But the cab driver's handbook will be a test, so that's for the future, and we
Etiquette.
all have to take it. And would be nice if the LTDA and UCG could put together, and LCDC put together etiquette questions that we could tick a box, three answers to it. Is it your fare if... What do you do in this scenario? How do the ranks work? Can you park at the back of a rank?
A box at the bottom that says "other." It's all circumstance.
Yeah. I was there first, and if he wants to fight about it, that's up to him.
If it's
But I
raining,
didn't-
there's a lot of people, and there's a central reservation. It's mine.
No, there's got to be a box that says, "But I didn't see you."
Yeah.
That's the one. That's
Yeah.
one. And it works. That
Yeah.
You can say that every time you nick a job. Didn't see you, mate.
Have you nicked jobs?
Never. I never nick a job.
I have never knowingly
No,
nicked a job.
never knowingly nicked a job. Never.
And if you do, you're just like, more than often not, because the person stops and goes, "Bloody hell, sorry, mate. Like, what happened there? Like, oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and
They look straight ahead. They know what they've done.
Well, there's sometimes there's not much way out of it, is there? Especially the rank one. You know, someone's come down to you, fourth cab on the rank, jumped in your cab, and you can't. They're a passenger. You can't really tell them get out, go and get in the front cab. But you could explain a little bit.
They can pick whatever cab they want.
You can always pick any cab they want.
Yeah.
And then you drive off.
Some passengers know that as well. They'll tell me, I've got on your cab for a reason.
Don't like his is dirty.
Yeah.
Looks like a bit of
I would pull up beside the cab at some point and say, mate, they jumped
I don't want to
in
get in that cab because he might swear.
I've
seen Aaron in front of me. Do you know what I mean?
He's got a HP taxi sticker.
I saw the sticker.
Yeah,
I think I'm going down. The guy at the back has got a nice Whiz-Hand sticker.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
We've always come up with etiquette every time we've done a podcast. It's always come up.
I think
very interesting.
I think Tom maybe agrees. I think it could be definable to a degree that we could get to some conclusive idea. Yeah.
Well, because at the end of the day, etiquette, like I got really fascinated by this because that guy, William Hanson's brought out a book about etiquette, some posh, pompous, classy dude. And it kind of is it's just like rules and conventions that people abide by just to make life and citizenship just being the best human being you can be. And that's all it is.
Or or someone could write a book about being see you next Tuesday and go completely the other way. Like in restaurants that are rude when they serve you. There's one in Islington. Have you seen it on White Line Street?
Karen's, yeah.
Yeah, where they just
trying to be
they advertise being bad.
In
Chinatown.
Used to be like that, didn't it?
Yeah, but they would really like it. That would This seems a stage.
People would
I
go
went there
there.
and it was quite nice.
They
didn't do it anymore.
And there's places that are renowned for it that not advertising it.
Well, the thing is common sense that is actually there's no such thing.
Yeah, Taibes. Yeah.
Taibes is terrible.
Taibes, they'll be setting up your knife and fork before you finished, and I'll be like, "What are you doing?" And they'll be like, "Well, you're leaving at so and so."
Yeah, I won't be going Taibes again. Ever.
No.
I went there 2 days ago.
Did you?
Yes.
So they're still the same then?
Well, they've always been terrible, but you eat the food. So anyway, I went there on my own. You're on your own. That's a disaster for them, but it wasn't busy. They sling. Do you want poppadoms? You kind of figure, okay, this is an extra. You're sticking extras on. That's fine. They stick the poppadoms. The prawn curry was £17 without rice. I thought, that's expensive. The rice is £5. We're at £23. I'm going out for a little meal on my own. I'm at £23 just for the curry and rice. I also go to the Rusty Bike, which is a Thai restaurant. It's £13 for curry, rice, and a side. So it's and it's very, very nice. So they're pricing that there. They brought a naan bread that was £3, so I'm at £25, something like that. And then they stuck on £4 service charge, and the service was horrendous. It was slinging it on the table, taking the plates off as thingy. It was terrible. I really completely would not recommend Taibs to anybody anymore.
People use a cab because they want to be, given the best service, and sometimes a driver won't give you that.
No, but we do need to have a certain service standard.
We do.
I don't know if you know
my
my
story.
story.
We're talking about
my story of Charles Street. I wasn't there. The driver's telling me the story. He's setting down for the Chesterfield, and there's 2 Americans in the back, and they've got out the cab and left their cases in the luggage compartment and walked away. And he's like, "What? You expect me to get your cases?" And he's having a go at them, bloody Yanks and whatever, like who they think they are. Think I'm their servant, and I'm thinking, wow, really? For a start, getting up and getting the cases out is a little bit of exercise. Just loosen up and let the blood flow come back to your legs. Putting them on the pavement for the doorman to pick out is not that much hard of a chore. What a bad image. What a bad thing to do. So I kind of never forgot that particular guy. We should never, ever be doing that. Be as kind to people as possible until the moment that they themselves are being...
And if you obnoxious. Are pulling someone because you think they're nicking your job... I had it in Covent Garden not so long ago. I actually turned left and I didn't see the cab. It was obviously a long way away, and I've been flagged, and I've pulled up, and the woman's just about to get in, and the geezer's going, beep, 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 beep. Alongside me, that's my effing job. And I went, as I said earlier, didn't see you. I'm really sorry. And I asked the lady to get out and get in his cab, and she did. But the way he approached it was really bad.
Yeah.
And that was in front of the customer.
Yeah.
We can't be doing that.
No, I wouldn't have done any of that. I would not have bibbed. I would have not done anything. I'd have said, get on with it. Drive on.
It's like
nothing you can
road
do.
rage is the same. You know, when people
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
next
But
year,
we're an
you
image.
just stick your blinkers on.
Supposed to be the
forward,
best.
especially if you've got someone on. That's
Yeah.
even more so. Just
Yeah.
ignore it, straight on, no horn.
And you all know the roulette idea. You're basically going to roll down the road there, and there's a massive job or a little job that takes you to another mess. Whatever the
Yeah, I've got a job at the other end of the street. Funnily
random
enough.
stuff that goes
And
on.
he actually pointed it. He went like that.
Oh, it's
pointed
yours.
to the next job.
Oh mate, yeah, hello, that's
Really?
yours. That's yours. Look,
It was
get that
probably
one.
a bit sarcasm saying you can't see where you're going, you know. Or you can't see who's behind you.
like-
Yeah, he pointed to the job and there was a good
I think
job,
we had a
funny
great
enough.
conversation.
Yeah.
There's a lot to cover, and thank you for coming, Paul, and sitting there on your normal chair. And Tom, it's always great to see you.
Thank you all.
There's so much that we could have talked about. You being on the television and shit like that. You let us down big time on the chase.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't even
Man
get
of
through.
the amount of flack I got for that. Honestly, people were saying you don't know what you're doing, and I'm like, what?